So let's talk about resisting the pressures of sexualization as an ace person. So, the process of coming to terms with your asexuality is certainly, for a lot of us, really challenging. We have to do a lot of introspection, we do a lot of research, we connect, we talk about it, we think about it, we process a ton, and we finally get to the place where we embrace ourselves as ace people. We feel comfortable in our ace skins, and everything is great, right? Whoa, 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 not so fast. Becoming comfortable in your own skin as an ace person is really only half the battle. You then have to go out into the world as an ace person. And being ace in the world is a totally different beast to just like being ace within your own brain and in your own body. We are inundated constantly with a very sexualized world. Messages about how sex is natural, normal, everybody wants it, everybody should have it, everybody should make themselves available for it, everybody should make themselves look good for it. We are constantly pressured into sex all the time. And I often get questions from people about how we can combat that as an ace person. How do you make it easier to be in the world as an ace person when that world is highly, highly sexualized? So I think it's important to start with why the world is so sexualized, what's underneath all of these highly sexualized messages. And while there are many social forces that are underneath that, two of the main ones are compulsory sexuality and allonormativity. So allonormativity is the social construct and social belief that every person experiences sexual attraction as part of a default experience of being human. Allonormativity basically says if you're a human person, you're going to experience sexual attraction. And that's just how it is for everyone. If that's not you, then there's something really wrong with you. Compulsory sexuality is a related social force, but that talks about behavior more than the experience of sexual attraction. Compulsory sexuality says that every person wants sex. Every person wants to have sex. They want to have a lot of it. Every person naturally is inclined to pursue it regularly. And if you are not wanting sex and pursuing it regularly, then you are not being a good human. So these two big social forces underpin why our culture is so obsessed with sex. These two social forces are what is constantly pushing sexual messages toward us from every corner of the world. And not just every corner of the world, they're also getting pushed from the people in our lives. Because big giant social constructs like allonormativity and compulsory sexuality only work effectively if everyone at an individual and interpersonal level is also participating in their perpetuation. So it's not just the big messages that we receive from media and from policy and from the culture overall. It's what we receive from individual people in our lives. So that's our friends perpetuating notions about how we should behave sexually, our family pressuring us to get married, have kids, all of those like interpersonal pressures. Those are also a part of allonormativity and compulsory sexuality, just at the interpersonal level. So we're really getting it from all sides, right? It's coming at us from above, it's coming at us from left and right, it's coming at us from the people in our lives. And then, of course, we can internalize those feelings as well, and we can make them part of how we think about ourselves and how we think about the ways we should be. And then we also become magnifiers and amplifiers for these socially destructive norms. Okay, so that's like a pretty bleak picture, right? Like I know that's painting, that's not really like helping anybody, right? But just like the world's terrible. But while that is an alarming notion, it is essential in understanding how we can combat it. So the first thing we can do is fortify the space in which we hold our own asexuality. What I'm talking about is making sure that within ourselves, we have created a space that is supportive, that is nurturing, and that loves and protects our asexuality. That means going through our own internal thoughts about being ace, our own internal thoughts about what we should and should not do, our own internal beliefs and values around sex as it relates to us, and toss out all the things that are connected to allonormativity and compulsory sexuality, and make sure that that space that our asexuality sits in inside of us is a supportive one that uplifts asexuality instead of questions it, critiques it, or looks at it doubtfully. We are our first line of defense against the sexualization of the world. So we have to make sure that wherever our asexuality is hanging out in us, in our brains, in our hearts, in our bodies, those places are safe from those negative messages about asexuality and about who we are as ace people. The other thing we can do to resist these messages of sexualization is a little bit harder, but I think it's a really rewarding track to take. We need to build the kind of supportive social structures that lifts up asexuality that the world is refusing to provide. So these big social constructions of allonormativity and compulsory sexuality aren't just around to punish and harm people who sit outside of them. They are also designed to uplift and privilege and reward people who do. So understand that all of the structures that we live in this world are built to reward people who are allonormative and who do adhere to compulsory sexuality. The world is built with support systems that lift those people up and tell them, hey, you're doing a great job. We're going to let you move through the world with ease, with comfort, and with a real positively empowered space. As asexual folks, we don't have that, right? The world is not providing us any kind of support system to be ace in this world. So what we have to do is put our good work boots on and put our work gloves on and get in there and build ourselves a system that will do that for us. First, we surround ourselves with messages that do empower us, that do lift us up. That could be finding books that are about aceness in a positive way, finding content creators that say really encouraging and positive things and holding that content close to us, following content creators, being connected to content creators online and positive affirming content online. In the world, that means trying to find other ace folks that we can connect to for support. Maybe that means a group chat of ace folks that you can go to when you need some uplift. Having an ace friend who's going to be your text buddy when you're having a tough day. They can send you empowering and encouraging things. It is our job in a world without any structure to support us to be part of building one that does. I think that is a beautiful notion because that kind of like imagining a world where the world doesn't imagine us is an essential and crucial part of what being queer is all about. Queerness in all of its forms is about imagining a world that includes more people, imagining a world that creates space for things that the world says shouldn't be or can't be. We as ace people can do that for ourselves by connecting with others, nurturing those connections, and then spreading those connections in the ways that we can. So once we have those networks, it means like sharing those networks with others, inviting people into our supportive ace space, inviting people into content we dig, inviting people into more understanding about aceness. The more that we expand that net to capture more people and catch them when the world is letting them down, the better off we will all be, the healthier we will all be around like resisting an overly sexualized world. Is that work easy? No, it's not. On both cases, it's not really easy, but it's valuable. And if we all do our part a little bit to make ourselves safe spaces for our asexuality and also making the world right around us, the spheres that we touch and our spheres of influence and connection, if we can make those safe spaces that aren't ruled by sexualization, we are making a better world for ace people. So go out there, build the world you want to see. Build that world where having sex and having sexual attraction isn't the default and it isn't required. Build a more inclusive and more ace affirming world.